Hello everyone, I'm Joran Verhofste and today I'm interviewing Nick Gordon. He's a rugby player who plays at my club, Dendermonde Rugby Club. He has been living for the past 5 years in Belgium and he married a Belgian girl. So, hello Nick.
Hello.
From what part of New Zealand are you from?
I'm from a town called Christchurch that's in the South Island of New Zealand. Um, I guess you could compare it to size-wise, maybe Ghent or something. There's about 300,000 or 400,000 people that live there, close to the mountains and close to the beaches. So it's quite a nice place to live.
Okay. And why did you come to Belgium?
It's a good question. Yeah, I was actually in New Zealand. I was studying a little bit. I studied accountancy for a year or two, but I wasn't really my thing. And then I worked for 1 year. And then my dad said to me, I think, 21 at that stage. And my father said to me, why don't you go travel the world and go see something? And because I played rugby at quite a high level in New Zealand, I made a profile and then I ended up getting signed by Dendermonde. So then I came here.
Oh. And where do you currently work?
I work for Fabricom, NG Fabricom. I actually work on as a monteur, electrician, on high voltage substations and hook spanning poster.
And do you like the work you're doing?
Yeah, it's good. I really enjoyed it. It's always something different. It's not always, you don't have to work too hard. I just can relax a little bit and just do my thing, and I get a little bit of creative space to decide what I want to do and when I'm going to do it. So it's quite good.
And before you came to Belgium, so what did you do in New Zealand?
Yeah, so I was studying accountancy. So I went to first of all I went to a high school that's quite a prestigious rugby school, and yeah, it's sort of when I went there it's sort of like what you see in America in the movies where you go there and you're like one of the jocks. You walk around, you can do whatever you want. But I did go to it was an all boys school. There's 1,500 boys there. And after that I studied accountancy for 2 years, but it wasn't really my thing. And then I worked for my father's business and installing heat pumps. Okay. I did that for a year and then I came over here.
Okay. And what did your family say when you decided to come to Belgium?
Well, first of all, they thought I was just going to be coming for a year. So my father and my mother were very, very encouraging. And then after a year, it was actually my dad's idea to come in the first place. And then after a year, I said to them, I've fallen in love with a Belgian girl and I'm going to stay here probably for quite a while, maybe the rest of my life. So there was a bit of a shock to them, but if I'm happy, they're happy. So they've gotten used to it, really.
And they visit you in Belgium quite often? Or?
They've visited me twice now, 2 times, and they stayed for approximately 6 weeks every time. And they're going to come again in 2020 so they can see the famous Rosberg from Dendermonde.
So is it quite common for young people in New Zealand to come to leave New Zealand for another part in the world or to come to Europe?
Yeah, it's very, very common. A lot of my friends have been to London. It's actually, we're sort of, from New Zealand, everyone's quite adventurous, really. They always, at a young age, if either what you do is you go study first and you travel afterwards, or you travel straight away out of school when you're 18 or 19 years old. So and it's really, a lot of my friends have lived in London. They've already gone back and started working and building a family and a house and everything. But a few of my friends have just moved over in the last few years, and some of them I've even managed to get over to come play for us in the last couple of years, which has been nice.
Okay. And do most of them stay in Europe, or do most of them go back to New Zealand?
I would say the majority of them go back to New Zealand. It's quite a good lifestyle there, but it depends what you're doing for jobs, because if you have the right sort of job, you can really earn quite good money in New Zealand as well, and the tax rate's a lot lower than here. But I'd say most of them would go back.
Okay. And was there a big cultural difference between New Zealand and Belgium?
That's a hard one. I think it's in terms, they're both sort of Western civilized countries. I think, there's a big difference in terms of the history. Belgium is a really, really old country, or in terms of the landmass, whereas New Zealand, the first New Zealand Europeans arrived in 1850 or something, so it's a really, really young country. Before that, there were only the Māori, the indigenous people from New Zealand there. So I'd say the history from all the countries, and also just the main difference is just being the proximity to other countries as well. If I can jump in my car now and drive 2 hours in different directions, I go to 4 different countries. Where in New Zealand, I have to drive, I have to get on a plane to get to other cities in our own country even. So it's a bit different, really.
And is the Maori country still quite big in New Zealand, or is it?
It is getting bigger because when my parents grew up, it was sort of, I guess, a little bit like South Africa with the apartheid, but not obviously not as extreme. But so my parents grew up, and it was more us and them. It wasn't like you couldn't go on the bus together or something like it was in South Africa, but it was more the white people didn't do. Well, first of all, they didn't do the haka. They didn't speak Māori. There was no Māori language taught in schools. There was no really history of Māori either. No one really talked about it until sort of, I think it would have been, when I started going to high school, 13, 14, it started growing and growing, and the culture of the Māori culture was more got accepted as, because New Zealand's quite multicultural as well, with a lot of Pacific Islanders and also Asian people as well, Koreans, Japanese, Chinese, everything really. And it's sort of the haka is now, and the Māori culture is more sort of all of us together. It's quite a good thing that, because I don't think there's any full-blooded Māoris anymore. They're all mixed with something now. Yeah. So it's more like, that's a good thing to bind us, together really, which is quite nice.
And do you miss certain things you had in New Zealand? And if you miss some things, how do you cope with them?
One of the big things I miss is obviously New Zealand's known for the beautiful nature and beautiful scenery. So that's one thing I miss a lot, I'd say. And also, I do get frustrated here with a lot of traffic jams, pretty much because I work in Antwerp at the moment, so it's pretty bad sometimes. But apart from that, there's not too many things I miss really. There's also advantages to living over here. The beer's a lot better. The women are obviously a bit more beautiful over here. I found myself a wife here, so that must be. And apart from that, it's they're sort of similar in that terms.
Okay. So is there a big difference in lifestyle?
I think New Zealand is a lot more laid back. It's a lot more relaxed. It's a lot of people with planning and just actually the whole attitude to everything in general. It's more like, we'll take it as it comes. We'll do it whenever. Whereas here, it's quite also career focused as well. Like everyone, I think it's also a good thing as well, because in New Zealand, we didn't really get any guidance when we were 15, 16, 17 years old in terms of what do you want to do. You sort of were just like, maybe I'll do that. And I think also as well for people that weren't intellectual in terms of they were better suited to technical sort of jobs. I think it's a lot better here because you can study the technical things earlier, whereas in New Zealand you have to do all the academic stuff, and then when you're 18 or 17, when you want to stop school, then you can stop school and there's no actual technical school. You have to pretty much start working straight away. So it's a lot different.
Okay. So and then do you ever plan on going back to New Zealand, or do you plan on staying here?
Well, I'm building a house here at the moment, and I think with it's a hard one to say. At this stage, no, because with my job, I'm happy here, and also the social welfare is a lot better here. I mean, your children go to school and university is a lot cheaper. I think if you go to New Zealand, it'll cost you for the same year, it'll cost you 7 times as much just for 1 year. So at the end of it, when you're sending a child to school to university for 4 or 5 years, then it's really, really expensive. And also, I love traveling, so I think this is the easiest place for me to go, so I can just travel anywhere I want, really.
Okay. And do you visit New Zealand quite often?
I went in February this year for 6 weeks. I went 3 years before. I try and go every 3 years because my parents come in between as well, so we see each other. It's quite, that's probably one thing I miss the most, my family obviously. But with technology these days, I can just Skype them whenever I want to, ring them whenever, and it doesn't cost me a thing, so that's always quite beneficial.
Okay, thank you for the interview, thank you for your time, and I wish you the best.
Thank you very much.